Get in, nerds. We are playing Victoria 3. I should have, now that I've got puppets in South America, maybe another interest or two to play with? Yeah, here we go. Alright, so we're going to declare in La Plata. And let me see. Do I want to? I've already got Oceania. I don't know why I was like, now I can finally declare an interest in Oceania. I don't need that. I already got one. Alright, so we'll grab interests in the Pacific. So being that I have an interest in Oceania already, let me see. What if I made Hawaii a protectorate? Hawaii would definitely, nobody would stop me from making Hawaii a protectorate. Let's do it. Let's do it. You know, I'm doing a lot of aggression in the early game, but you know, it's going to be worth it long term. So we have absolutely high wood and furniture demand in our market, and I think it's going to be on me, the United States, to deal with that. Oh, it's just cold up there. I'm like, is this color difference a market condition? Nope, it's just because it's cold. Alright, so logging in Indiana seems rock solid. We'll put 5 more levels of logging camps here, and we'll put 5 levels of furniture manufacturers here as well. That'll be nice. That'll give us plenty. I'm going to intersperse the first level or 2, just to get those rolling at a reasonable rate. Oh, unless I want to build up more construction. Let me see. Iron is somewhat expensive, but iron's going to get cheaper once I start using the water tube boiler. So that's actually going to be fine. How's tools, though? That's going to impact the price of tools. Tools are still expensive, but it'll be fine. We'll be able to go where we want to go. They said no. That's not shocking. I may not even need to raise my conscripts in the regular army, because I've got 7 battalions. They've got 3 and 2 able to be raised. You know, I'll raise them anyway. Yeah, I think that's sensible. And then we'll queue in here a few more tooling workshops. We've got a lot of tooling in Pennsylvania and New York. Correct? Yes. Does certainly appear so. So I'll throw 4 levels of tooling manufacturers in New York. And that'll be fine. Now, the regular army, I can't go to these places because they're only protectorates, not, puppets. So once again, it's going to be a very long process of invading them, but hopefully that won't be that big of a deal. So let's get things going here. No one should be interested in stepping in my way, and it does appear no one is. Whistle-stop tour. Charles Finney intends to travel across Pennsylvania by train to campaign for the Whig Party. All I intend to do is present myself to the people. I'm just a simple man trying to get our party's message out by the best means available. Campaigning by rail is a smart move, 10% momentum. Reduce railway throughput in Pennsylvania, or be a shame if the campaign kept suffering delays. Reduce momentum, significant penalty to railway throughput in Pennsylvania. I'm going to do the first one. Giving the Whigs a little bit of extra momentum is pretty solid. The Democrats is the party supporting slavery right now, so I'm not, I think the weaker they are, the better for me overall. So now I can start potentially going after far South American countries as well as protectorates, because that is a thing I want to do. And who knows, maybe one day we'll open... Oh my goodness! Great Britain's already got a treaty port in Japan. And we're in voting for a dedicated police force. That's wonderful. Are you in... Oh, you're in free trade. Well, that's interesting. Alright, we got another Indian removal event. And there's the water tube boiler. So, first of all, let's swap over at least the iron mines. We'll swap over the coal mines. And we'll swap over the sulfur mines. I know that's good. We'll swap over the lead mines, too. I know they're going to be technically unproductive, but once we get the better glass method, we'll be good to go on that. So, in accordance with the removal treaty, it is time for the Cherokee of Arkansas to relocate to the Indian Territory. Some holdouts refuse to leave their homes, and many are poorly equipped for the journey. My friends, circumstances render it impossible that you can flourish in the midst of our community. You have but one remedy within your reach, and that is to remove West. And the sooner you do this, the sooner you will commence your career of improvement and prosperity. I'm going to offer them some assistance once again. This is going to be a massive removal, 40,000 people, and it's going to cost it's going to cost a pile of cash. 5% of Cherokee Pops are going to lose their lives. That's 2,000. But it is what it is. This is much worse, so we'll do the second one. And this is just sensible. Like, Indian Territory is our subject state. We're this is part of our bloc, so it just makes sense that we would be trying to make sure that we're not absolutely destroying their ability to function by rendering their core population depopulated. That would just be nonsense imperialist behavior. Alright, so I'm still working on getting wood supply and furniture manufacturing built up. So there's the war. Let's go ahead and do ourselves a quick naval invasion. This shouldn't be... It's going to take a while, but it'll go when it goes. So from here, I think the play is we increase the size of the construction sectors. I'm going to build up 2 in New York and 2 in Pennsylvania. That's going to be an overall increase of about 25%. It's going to increase construction costs by another, like, 20k, but some of it's going to be taken over by the investment pool. So I can for sure afford it. Let's just throw those in at the top. Because again, keeping construction capacity high is how you keep your economy healthy. For those of you who are following the India run, you'll notice these get built much more slowly than they did in the other one, and that's because in that run we had a company that gave us maximum construction investment. It means that in this run, we're building more things in parallel, but the individual things take longer. What it means is we're a little bit less flexible. We can't build things up as fast as we could in the other run. Alright, so there's the election. That's the 1840 election. John Calhoun wins again. So that's going to be his additional that's going to be his second, well, let me see. He died before the 36 election. So that was his first full term, and now it'll be his second full term. Discord within the evangelicals. An influential faction within the evangelicals has grown frustrated with their co-members' neutrality on the topic of dedicated police force. Themselves in favor of the law, they've now resolved to form a separate political faction intent on passing it. How can you stand idly by and watch the world pass before your eyes? Have you no sense of honor, of duty to your fellow man? I say nay to such lack of ambition, and I dare say I am not alone in this. With their support, the bill shall pass, increased enactment chance, weaker evangelicals, or the petite bourgeois extend an open hand to these mavericks. Less enactment chance, but much weaker evangelicals, stronger petite bourgeois. Let me see. The evangelicals and the petite bourgeois are both in the Democratic Party, but I think between the two of them, having the petite bourgeois be stronger is better for me as a whole. Their base strength is also higher, so I'm going to do the second one. The differential enactment chance is pretty low, so I'm not that worried about it. So this is one circumstance in which... Oh my goodness. So this is one circumstance in which taking a setback ended up being the right call, and we ended up getting lucky. Dye Works accident. Several workers died today at the Massachusetts Dye Works when an industrial-sized tub of hot dye accidentally spilled out over the workshop floor and the unsuspecting workers. Locals are upset about the incident, claiming that the poor safety regulations in the hot and dangerous workplace are to blame for the accident, and are urging the government to take action. As rescue workers left the scene, several employees were left dying. We shall all die sooner or later. Extra mortality. 5% of laborers in Massachusetts become radical. Or they shall not have died in vain. Extra mortality. Trade unions stronger and happier. I'm going to do the second one. Hooray for dying puns. Wait till we get the Great Molasses Fire. There's even more puns to be associated with that, I tell you what. John Brown has appeared in the United States. Excellent. So he's a very important agitator for American history. A feeling of fatedness. Dissatisfied with the lack of progress on abolition, John Brown has begun drawing on every anti-slavery gunman to aid slaves fleeing their owners. Off to bed, children, you must be tired. Ma'am, it's scarce noon. We ain't even married Juliet to Romeo yet. You get inside this instant and you stay away from that wagon. That John Brown and his sons are coming, and his crusade will drown us all in blood. You mark my words, boy. Let him walk with God's blessing. Glorious endeavor, extra pop attraction, extra popularity, or let his earthly work continue unhindered. 5% of slaves become more radical, Southern planters very unhappy. So he aligns with the evangelicals and he is an abolitionist. I'm going to go with the first one. Because again, I don't want to make the Southern planters mad if I can at all avoid it, because if they get mad, they'll coup the government and then I'll lose my democracy. Bleeding Nebraska. Abolitionists and proponents of slavery have been pouring into American Nebraska, hoping to shape the territory's government to their liking. Paramilitary groups have begun committing acts of violence against each other and civilians. Before God and in the presence of these witnesses, from this time I consecrate my life to the destruction of slavery. The crimes of this guilty land can never be purged away, but with blood. Border ruffians cannot dictate the law. American Nebraska becomes a free state. Or Jayhawkers do not decide what is right. American Nebraska will be a slave state. I'm going to make it a free state. There's no other consequences except whether it becomes free or enslaved, so I'll make it a free state. So, speaking of democracy, Venezuela, I'm noticing you're oligarchic and not doing a democracy. Obviously, IT is working on dedicated police force. I'm not going to stop that up. Ecuador has already landed voting. I think I'm okay with keeping things that way for now. But Venezuela, I think it'll be a lot easier for you to reform once you're a democracy. So, wait, hold on. I can do this, or as the bloc leader, I can't force regime change because they won't. They haven't been here long enough. All right. Well, we'll say, hey now, go to democracy. We'll see what they say. They're doing it. Excellent. So that'll make life easier over there. It won't make life easier. It'll make political reform easier. So I think once this war is completed, I'll get started with my my Manifest Destiny decision, and then I'll need to cool out for a bit. The other option is Spain is pretty weak at this stage of the game. I could steal Cuba right now. Steal Cuba and maybe Puerto Rico. Is Puerto Rico a state? It's a state in Cuba. Alright, interesting. So I could steal Cuba. I'm going to increase my hold over the Caribbean. Things are doing pretty well in Central America. I could... I don't have the influence to improve relations, but once I'm done improving relations with New Grenada, we'll see how things go. Because I do want a power block embassy and other important things. I'd love to be able to invest in New Grenada and get them into my block that way, because that's sort of my ideal method for larger countries. Alright, battle's going just fine, and once we've landed, that'll functionally be the end of the war. Rousing speech captivates the public. This afternoon, Joseph Wallace, leader of the petite bourgeoisie, delivered a fiery speech advocating for the enactment of dedicated police force. Making an appearance before the public in Washington's main square, George Wallace's powerful rhetoric left even his most embittered political opponents impressed. Excerpts from the speech are already being circulated across the USA, fanning the fires of an already roaring debate. Now, this should ease the path to reform greatly, 15% enactment chance. Or performances like these reflect well on Joseph Wallace and his cause. 10% enactment chance, but he becomes more popular. I'm going to do the second one. That's going to strengthen the petite bourgeois. And now, Hawaii is a protectorate of mine. Their liberty desire is increasing a little, but again, once I'm through improving relations with New Grenada, that won't be nearly as much of a problem. It says failed naval invasion, but that's not real. I succeeded. I am a success. And now we got Hawaii, which I'm chronically bad at making sure I take when playing as the United States. I often just goof it up somehow. We're going to intersperse these tooling factories as well, so we can make sure we're building enough tools to do all the mining we want to be doing. Obviously, furniture is extremely, extremely expensive, but it is what it is. Coal's at a good price, though, and iron is doing just fine, which I'm very, very stoked about, because that's going to allow us to continue to expand our construction sector. In fact, we can do a little bit more increasing of the construction sector right now. So let's go ahead and bump up the construction sectors in Indiana and Ohio by 2 levels each. Excellent. There's Bessemer process. That strengthens our steel mills. I'm going to set it up so that it's running, because I often forget to do this. Yes, it's going to make them less profitable now, but it is what it is. And I'm going to throw these right in at the top. We'll put the logging camp in there, kind of in the middle, so that it gets done kind of on the way. Amazonic mass immigration. Excellent. From Brazil. Amazonic. So that's Lusophone European heritage. Interesting. Very interesting. Is Brazil on... No, they're on racial segregation. Curious. Alright, so there's dedicated police force. So now all I gotta do is wait for this... Uh-oh! 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 They're at -1! No! How did this happen? How did this happen? It's okay. It's okay. Alright, we're gonna establish ourselves a company. We're at 1.1 infamy right now. So let's take a look at companies. Available companies, we have 1. It's an infrastructure company, though. So who's attainable? Let me see. I love colony growth speed. What do we need for this? Location, New York. We need sugar, tobacco, or coffee plantations in New York? That doesn't seem right to me. Although colony growth speed will not be that useful. United New York Gold, on the other hand. This is also located in New York. We need gold mines for this. Alright, so that's definitely on the docket. United Construction, extra construction sector throughput. That's... I don't know how big a deal that is, because I don't necessarily know that I'm going to need all that. Railway building throughput's nice. Extra influence could be very useful, but I need dye plantations, more dye plantations for that to happen. That to be available. Where are my dye plantations now? They're currently in South Carolina, so if I queue in 3 more dye plantations... Look at those built, and then we'll see if that opens up the way to that company. Because having a little bit of extra influence is going to be really useful. Here we go. So, to plot a coup. John Calhoun has grown discontent with the American government's institutions. A conspiracy is forming among the Southern planters to launch a coup against the government and establish an autocracy. What did you make of John's little speech back there? It's a drastic proposal, but hard times call for great men to take charge. Will the people see it that way? They must be made to see it that way. Delightfully devilish. This creates the coup journal event, puts the coup progress to 25% and makes the Southern planters slightly stronger. Or, keep an eye on John Calhoun. This creates the coup event chain, puts it at 10%, and makes the Southern planters slightly weaker. I'm going to go with the second one. I don't want to get couped because I want to keep my democracy. Thank you very much. They'll eventually chill out, or they should, because this opinion change about dedicated police force is decaying. I am also going to go ahead and increase the strength of the police force. Let me see, we're at 141 bureaucracy per level, so I should be able to afford to increase that institutional investment further before too long. I've already got Missouri and Iowa incorporated. Yes, alright, so I don't have any unincorporated states that I could incorporate. We're just working on the process of colonization right now. I think after Nitro... Actually, here's what I'm... Oh, but I gotta go through pharmaceuticals first. Yeah, I'm gonna finish out Nitro. Then we'll go through pharmaceuticals to quinine. Quinine increases colonial affairs by 1. Increase the maximum for colonial affairs by 1. So that's something I'm definitely gonna step into. Now, so this coup event, here's how this works. So the Southern planters are planning a coup against our democratic institutions, attempting to seize control of the government and install a regime more amicable to their interests. This will complete if the Southern planters are powerful, their approval is less than 0, and they're ready to execute the coup, which is when this gets to the end. This is going to go up at a rate of 1 per month, so I've got a few years. I think this is 1 per month. Might be 1 per week, though. Let me check. So it just went up by 19%. Okay, so it is a week. So I got about a year and a half. Now, their opinion should... this opinion malice for going to dedicated police force should decay over time. So we'll see how things go. General accused of plot. Thomas Jessup, a general associated with the armed forces, has been accused of grave disloyalty. Thomas Jessup claims that this is nothing more than a plot by a subversive element to remove a barrier to their rule. I assure you, gentlemen, I have no knowledge of any of the actions detailed in these alleged letters of mine. If you must go through my personal effects to exonerate me, I welcome you to. We cannot take any chances with the loyalty of our generals. Coup's plot will be advanced. Thomas Jessup is retired armed forces salty. Or this is clearly a false accusation. Reduced authority. Reduced political strength of officers. Coup's progress will retreat by 15%. I'm going to go with the second one. That'll buy me more time to do the thing I need to do. And again, the thing I need to do is get the Southern planters happy. So that's basically how you resist the coup by the Southern planters as the United States. It's very much the same as resisting a coup by any other country. You let them get a little mad. Now, I was hoping I could avoid this using temporary opinion bonuses. That's why I've been doing things like letting them catch slaves and whatnot. But clearly, negotiating with slavers has not proven a very effective solution in this situation. So we'll bear that in mind as we move down the road here. How's Venezuela's progress on census suffrage? It's pretty good. I'm pretty pleased about that. Now, what about Hawaii? Hawaii, you're an autocratic monarchy run by the rural folk and the intelligentsia, and I'm pretty pleased with how that's going so far. Contentious topics. An event organized by the abolitionist movement transformed into a brawl as opponents of the movement infiltrated the crowd. When the police arrived, no participant was willing to give a consistent statement. Most of them had at least one bruise, a cut lip, or a bloody nose. His was much less honorably obtained than most of the others. He had whacked his hip against the corner of a table while rushing for the exit, only to run nearly headlong into an approaching sheriff. Two conflicting stories rose to mind. One he would tell to the detective, and one he would tell to his friends. Give them all a day in jail to cool off, even pulls a little salty, or seek charges to the event's organizers, weaker abolitionist movement, evangelicals, even saltier. I'm going to go with the first one. I don't want to weaken this movement because this is my abolitionist movement and I need them. Let me see. Pro-slavery movement is pretty weak as well. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Look at all these events. The Trail of Tears. Our efforts to remove the Cherokee from eastern lands has led to the deaths of many during their overland march westward. Measles, cholera, starvation. This removal has created a trail of tears and death for our people. We did what we could. Reduce standard of living for Cherokee in Oklahoma. So what's the average standard of living in Oklahoma right now? 8.6. Alright, so they're not below 5, which means, I think that means level out of population, but it's not going to mean starvation, which I'm pretty pleased about. A shot in the dark. A prominent functionary and supporter of the yeoman farmers has been shot in broad daylight on the streets of D.C. The local police seem uninterested in investigating any further. The officer standing on the corner tried not to flinch as the shot split the air, and the screams of onlookers began to resonate across the streets. In the end, he reassured himself the new and hefty weight in his coin purse was more than enough to make up for any of his doubts. Justice must be done. Reduced legitimacy, reduced authority, reduced bureaucracy. Coup will retreat by 15%, yeoman farmers happier. Or we stand above a chasm and must not fall in. Coup's progress advances by 15. Yeoman farmers salty. So I'm gonna go with Maze of Intrigue. This is gonna give me some significant penalties, but it's what I've got to do. I'm still in a contested government, so that's okay. Things aren't going too bad, and coup progress is down to 0. The caning of Charles Finney. Charles Finney, an outspoken abolitionist, has been beaten with a cane by President John Calhoun, a slave owner. Finney's injuries compel him to convalesce and retire from public office, while Calhoun still currently walks free. Such barbarism. I sadly do not see how two such disparate communities can still constitute one state. John Calhoun was just defending his honor. We will do nothing. Charles Finney retires from office. He's that of the evangelicals. Or John Calhoun assaulted a citizen. He must be removed from office and arrested. They're both out. Yeah, John Calhoun, GTFO. I'm gonna see who's gonna be president next. Shazam. James Maupin. James Maupin, you are still a slaver, head of the Southern Planters, traditionalist commander, and persistent. You've completely Robert Borked my authority now. So we'll cut some consumption taxes. Not a big deal. A little bit of a cash flow issue, but I don't think it'll be a problem. Bureaucracy is also causing a cash flow issue. Let's build a couple more government buildings. We don't have any unrealized taxes from insufficient taxation capacity. So let's just go ahead and build up the ones in New York. Should only require 2 levels. I'm going to throw these in at the top. They should get built pretty fast. All right. Coup attempt fizzles out. So again, this is something that happens because... Well, I thought it was because they're feeling okay again. I'm not sure why this has happened. Oh, maybe it's just because the guy who was running it bailed out of the, is no longer part of the government. The conspiracy against American democracy has lost all momentum among the Southern Planters. The plan to institute autocracy has been abandoned. The trouble with you... I'm going to read this as Calhoun, because I think that's what happened. The trouble with you, Calhoun, is that just because you have succeeded in inducing a handful of half-wits to disfigure the Washington scene by going about in black shorts, you think you're someone. You hear them shouting, "Hail Calhoun!" and you imagine it as the voice of the people. That is what you make. That is where you make your bloomer. What the voice of the people is saying is, look at that frightful ass Calhoun swanking about in footer bags. Do you ever, in your puff, see such a perfect perisher? Democracy is saved. Southern Planters weaker, everyone else happier. Shabamzo. Alright, so that's pretty good overall. Now, we might get that event again, because the Southern Planters are still salty. Do I have anything I can do to make them happier? They would be a little happier if I enacted censorship, but obviously this is America. I don't want to just enact censorship. Home affairs. See, I prefer to stay where we are and do guaranteed liberties eventually. Hereditary bureaucrats is so bad, though. Plus, it's going to make them stronger. No, you know what? I'm going to leave the laws where they are. I'm going to let their opinion situation decay where it to where it is. Whew. So, it's been an exciting episode. We took a protectorate over Hawaii. We fended off a coup attempt by the Southern Planters and threw John Calhoun out of office, putting a new president, James Maupin. Let me see. You're Dixie, so we'll call him Maupin. And we have a new president, James Maupin, in office. It's been an exciting episode, and we'll have a lot more to do in the next one. But for now, I've had fun. I hope you all have had fun, and I will see you on the other side.